So I just wanted to make a bit of a voiceover video. This is Anne-Marie from Charmed Life Therapy again. So this is what was previously under seal and considered confidential, but is now open and alive on the docket. And it's basically what Wayfarer and parties have asked for in terms of discovery that they require from Blake Lively's side. So I thought it was just worth running through the main players of who these communications Blake has had with. So trying to investigate, I guess, where Blake has come up with this idea that retaliation was planned against her and that but presumably have evidence that she was SH'd on set and the rest of it. So this was, I believe, so she has 30 days to respond to this apparently, and it looks like it was filed on the 13th of June. So we're just going to have a little run through it, and I'll cut out a lot of the legalese. A lot of it is repetition in terms of it basically means it wants, for each of the people mentioned, it wants everything related to her communications with them or their representatives, and it gets very specific about what that means so that there's nothing that's left out of the picture. They can't get around it, basically. So it goes into, at the beginning, it describes what you means in terms of Lively, what Sony means, what WME refers to, what the film refers to, what Baldoni refers to, that it covers things like employees, representatives, agents, subsidiaries, affiliates, accountants, attorneys, successors, predecessors in interest, and anyone else acting or purporting to act on his behalf and anyone on whose behalf she is acting, including but not limited to agent, manager, attorney and other representatives. So, and that goes for everybody basically that's mentioned. So there's no getting round it. You have to do anything that's vaguely related to them. So Heath will mean Jamie Heath, Sarowitz will mean Steve Sarowitz, Nathan shall refer to Melissa Nathan, Abel is Jennifer Abel, Wayfarer means Wayfarer Studios LLC, details it ends with Us Movie LLC. What tag refers to being the agency group owned by Melissa Nathan. Reynolds shall mean Ryan Reynolds as well as all his representatives as detailed before. Sloan shall mean Leslie Sloan. Vision shall mean Vision PR. Jonesworks shall mean Jonesworks LLC and any of its, as I've detailed earlier, all the same thing again. Jones shall mean Stephanie Jones. There's the New York Times. Toohey, which will mean Megan Toohey. And then here's some of the others which you may not be quite as clear on. So it requests anything Blake Lively has had to do with Mike McIntyre, who is also an investigative journalist with the New York Times, as well as Megan Toohey, and presumably worked on that article or reviewed that article. So the name Tate shall mean Julie Tate, who's also a journalist with the New York Times. And again, it's wanting basically anything Blake Lively has to do with each of these people's members, managers, representatives, agents, employees, subsidiaries, affiliates, parents, accountants, attorneys, successors, predecessors in interest, and anyone else acting or purporting to act on its behalf or who has acted or purported to act on its behalf. So all of these people are covered by that, basically, in terms of what Blake has to produce. So where did we get to? So Jenny Slate is there, Isabella Ferrer is there. The term Sklenar shall mean Brendan Feekins, who some people kindly refer to as Timu Thor, but we know him as Brandon Sklenar, who played Atlas. She needs everything, all communications Blake has had with him. The term Hoover shall mean Colleen Hoover. Baldoni shall mean Emily Baldoni, so we know that's Justin's wife. So any communications Blake had with her or her representatives. Emily also had a bit part as Dr. Julie, the ultrasound doctor on set. The term White Cell shall mean Patrick Whitesell, and he is an executive chairman of Endeavour. So he is a co-CEO with Ari Emanuel over at WME, and he's also the co-CEO of IMG Talent Management with Ari Emanuel. He's also, interestingly enough, Lauren Sanchez's ex-husband. So anything to do with Patrick Whitesell as well. The term Greenberg shall mean Danny Greenberg. He's an agent at WME, so I think he will believe he is Justin's former agent. So any communications Blake or her parties had with him. The term Emmanuel shall mean Ari Emanuel, obviously, co-CEO of WME. There's Andrea and Gianetti. She is Sony Pictures exec, who allegedly received complaints about conditions on the It Ends With Us set, and she was the one that allegedly told Blake that she must direct them through Wayfarer. Alex Sachs, that's so any communications Blake had with Alex Sachs, who is a producer on It Ends With Us. Mariella Avila, who is an associate producer on It Ends With Us. So basically all of these is presumably people that either Blake knowingly complained to on It Ends With Us or could have complained to on It Ends With Us if she was so discontented with what was going on. So then there's Kimberly Wire, who is the VP of Global Publicity for Sony Pictures. So presumably she had some interactions with Blake and knew the situation that Blake alleged. There's Tara Hanks, president of Wayfarer Studios, and she was also down as additional crew on It Ends With Us. So I think when it comes to Wayfarer Productions, I guess she steps in and does things as requested. So again, she had the opportunity to speak to Blake or hear any complaints that Blake had, and presumably there must have been, should have been, could have been some text messages there. Then there's Hassan Minhaj. Apologies if I'm pronouncing any of these incorrectly, but he played Marshall, Ryle's brother-in-law, so on It Ends With Us. So presumably he was possibly party to conversations about Justin's conduct. So the term McCabe, that's Kevin McCabe, who played Lily's father, Andrew Bloom, in It Ends With Us. And Kevin McCabe is from Grey's Anatomy, plays Owen, of course, as well. Really like him. Unless he's done the dirty on this lawsuit. I don't think he will have done. But presumably, again, he could have had conversations. That's an interesting one, actually, because if he played Lily's father, Andrew Bloom, I've not watched the movie. Did he actually have scenes with Blake as well? Or would he have been on set at the same time as Blake? I'm not sure about that. So Amy Morton, then, who played Lily's mum, Jenny, on It Ends With Us. Newstatter, so that's Alex Newstatter, apologies again if that's wrong, played young Atlas Corrigan. So it'd be interesting to know how much Blake was conversing with the young cast, but I guess there's the implication that because Blake is alleged to have kind of coerced the cast as such, I guess. So it's basically, I guess, to find out if there was any text messages to these young members of cast that seemed to be coercive as to trying to put some kind of different narrative across about Justin's behaviour. Then Adam Monshine is mentioned. So that's the guy that was Justin's friend and played the OB. So Wayfarer looking for any communications Blake had with him. So that's kind of interesting. So then it's Tina Havales, could be wrong pronunciation there, Blake's assistant on the movie. Then Vivian Baker, Blake's makeup artist on set. Anne Carroll, Blake's hairstylist. And then the infamous Don Saladino, any communications Blake had with her personal trainer, Don Saladino, that referenced Justin. And we, of course, know that Don Saladino kind of grasped, allegedly, on Justin and phrased it in a way that led or allowed Blake to kind of call Justin a weight shamer, basically. We know that one, don't we? Then there's Warren Zavala, another partner at WME. Justin Greystone, Blake's longtime manager. So that will be an interesting one. Claudia Lynn. She seems to have a bit part on It Ends With Us, but she's also a content creator. She's a TikToker. Then Chelsea Carey, who's the intimacy coordinator on set, and also Lizzie Talbot, who was an intimacy coordinator. Then any communications with Rob Simonson, who was the Deadpool and Wolverine composer, who Blake wrote into the Ends With Us composing last minute. So they want all communications with him, and also with Duncan Blickenstaff, who was a composer. They want all of Blake's communications with Sean Levy, the director of Deadpool and Wolverine, long-time collaborator with Ryan, of course, and presumably maybe had to release his composers in order for them to go over and help on It Ends With Us. So they want any communications to do with that. They want Bradley Cooper's communications, because he was known to be at the watch party in the penthouse when Blake's edit was getting that screening. Then Josh Greenstein, the Sony president. Then Liz Plank, who we know is the podcast co-host, the Man Enough podcast co-host that stepped away at the first sign of the lawsuit, but it's also been known to have connections to Ryan and Blake and to have visited Wrexham and to kind of been groomed, I guess, allegedly, by Team Lively, etc. Then we've got Taylor Swift, of course, who we all know. Jacqueline London, who is an editor of Justin's, it seems, so has worked on various projects and has been supportive as well in nature in terms of coming out and saying statements in support of Justin, and in support of kind of how the working environment was on It Ends With Us. So they want all Blake's communications with her. Carly Swift, who was an art director, I couldn't quite get the gist of what she is. Was she an art director or some kind of production assistant on set? And then Sophie Travaglia, Blake's Lively's assistant, and she has also been on various Ryan Reynolds movie projects, I presume in the form of an assistant of some kind. And then they want all of Blake's communications with Jennifer Benson, who was Justin's health coach that he recommended to help out with all these instances of strep throat. He offered her services, didn't he? And I think he covered the costs there, or offered to cover the costs there, to kind of help build up her immune system, but she took that as more weight shaming, as you remember, that because Jennifer also offered kind of weight related services, that somehow it meant that Justin was shoving her that way rather than what he intended in terms of offering as a gesture of goodwill, kind of, because I would imagine by then Justin was already feeling you need to kind of big Blake up as much as possible, because that was the only way to keep her happy. But unfortunately she chose to take that as more fat shaming, or to use that to feed her narrative. So they want all communications Blake had with Jennifer Benson, and then everything to do with Todd Black, the Sony producer that Blake and team insisted on bringing on as part of that 17-point back to work statement they had Justin and Jamie sign. So then we move on to just more definitions about what complaint means, what consolidated complaint means, what action means, and what entities covers. So it's basically just more legalese, just kind of framing it so that nothing can kind of get missed. So in terms of trying to cover all the legal avenues by which she might be able to omit certain things. So there's a whole raft of legal stuff that determines what she must present. So then there's requests for production. So all documents and communications relating to the film, and then to the marketing of the film, all docs and communications relating to allegations of SH and or other misconduct relating to the film, anything relating to your defences to the consolidated complaint, and it's specified in the document exactly what that meant, all docs and communications relating to and or reflecting your communications with Baldoni. So I guess that's a heck of a lot of stuff. All documents and communications relating to Baldoni, all documents and communications relating to and reflecting your communications with Jamie Heath, all docs and communications relating to Heath, all docs and comms relating to and reflecting your communications with Jenny Slate, and all docs and comms relating to Slate. I'm not going to say the same thing every time, but it's going to be basically the same thing every time. So also regarding Jenny Slate wanting anything, conversations with her relating to the action as well, so not just relating to what's going on the set. And the same kind of thing with Isabella Ferrer. And yeah, all docs and comms relating to Isabella, all docs and communications relating to and or reflecting your communications with Isabella Ferrer. So it's getting all of the gist of what she was saying to Ferrer and what she was intimating. So it's all about that coercion aspect of it, I guess. And the same with Brendan Sklenar, all documents and communications relating to or reflecting anything to do with him. And Colleen Hoover and Emily Baldoni, Wayfarer, It Ends With Us movie, Jennifer Abel, Melissa Nathan, Steve Sarowitz, Patrick Whitesell, basically everybody we've covered, I think, including Aria Emanuel, the WME representatives. So wanting all documents and communications relating to and or reflecting your communications with Emmanuel related to the action. So then it moves on by the time we get to RFP number 37. All docs and comms relating to, reflecting your comms relating to the action with any individual identified in your initial disclosures. And anything related to the film with those same individuals. And then any docs and comms relating to and or reflecting your comms relating to the action with any individual identified in what it calls propounding parties' initial disclosures. So when I asked ChatGPT about that, because I thought, I don't know what the hell that is, the individuals identified in propounding parties' initial disclosures refers to people Wayfarer or Baldoni listed early on as likely to have relevant info like witnesses or potential people to be deposed. So if Blake Lively, her lawyers or her team contacted or influenced those people, this request is asking for a full paper trail, is the idea of that. So it's trying to find out if there was any kind of setup for bias, some kind of coaching or collusion, if Blake reached out to these witnesses before they were deposed or disclosed. Justin's team can argue there was some kind of improper influence, witness coordination. It can confirm any bias or contradictions. So it's not just about the legal filing itself. It includes things that might be pre-lawsuit planning, media prep, crisis management, and any reputation defence strategies involving known witnesses. So basically Wayfarer wants to know who has Blake been messaging behind the scenes. If Blake or her PR team talked to any of our potential witnesses, either over any kind of messaging like text, email, Slack, we want to see it because we're looking for signs of narrative coordination or witness influence here. So it's wanting to see, kind of say, show me the group chats, basically. Because if Lively's people were working the witness list, Wayfarer wants to know where that was happening. And then there are several RFPs to do with that. And then it moves on to 41, where all docs and comms relating to your diagnosis with COVID-19 during the year 2023, including all records of treatment, therefore. The next one is the interesting one. All documents and comms relating to Dr. Leslie Dobson, who is the weird internet psychologist, although there's kind of some question as to whether she's actually qualified, that was making all those weird Instagram posts that were very supportive of Blake and very inflammatory regarding Justin and really quite accusatory with no proof. So I guess we're wanting to know what is Blake's connection to Dr. Leslie Dobson, if there is any. Then we're wanting everything to do with Ange Gianetti, who, as I said before, she's the Sony Pictures executive that presumably would have been hearing from Blake all of these complaints that she so-called had. This is the lady that pushed back and said you need to go through Wayfarer. That's the proper form of doing any kind of complaint. So they want anything related to or reflecting communications with Sony regarding the film or relating to the action. And then anything to do with your communications with Sony relating to Ryan Reynolds as well. Anything to do with you talking to Sony in any kind of way relating to sexual harassment and misconduct relating to the film. And the same, all docs and comms related to the movie that you've had conversations with WME or any conversations related to the action with WME and related to with WME SH and or other misconduct related to the film. And then any proof that she's got that she has been damaged. So all docs and comms relating to your allegation, if any, that propounding parties cause damage to any company owned in whole or in part by you. So that's kind of, I guess, asking where's your proof you've been damaged. And where's your proof that any damage was caused to any company owned in whole or in part by Ryan Reynolds? Or where's your proof basically as well that any damage was caused harm or damages to any of your children? Anything related, all docs and comms relating to the character Nicepool in Deadpool and Wolverine. So that's where Brett Douglas McDowell comes in as well, and why he still wants that connection to the discovery process and wants to be party to whatever is relevant to his own case. So this is Baldoni keeping Nicepool in the frame, even though his previous accusations against Blake were dismissed. So Nicepool is still in the frame at this point. They want anything that is related to claims for damages, so any kind of proofs, I guess. All audio and video footage relating to the allegations set forth in the complaint or in the consolidated complaint too. Oh, and here we go. All docs and comms relating to and or reflecting your comms with the New York Times and your communications with Megan Twohey, all documentary stuff to do with that, or with the co-author McIntyre. So anything to do with the other person that was involved, Tay, and anything to do with that article published by the NYT, We Can Bury Anyone Inside a Hollywood Smear Machine. All docs and comms relating to and or reflecting your communications with Jones Works anything you received from Jones Works, anything you received from Stephanie Jones, the subpoena by which you purport to have received certain documents from Jones Works and or Jones. Woohoo! That's what we all want. All docs and comms relating to the subpoena by which you purport to have received certain documents from Jones Works and or Jones. Anything to do with Leslie Sloan relating to the film. Anything to do with Alex Sachs, the producer on the film, and that are relating to the film. Anything she's got, all documents and comms relating to and or reflecting your communications with Mariella Villa, the other producer on the film. I'm not going to go through them all here, but basically it's just recapping that they want all docs and comms relating to or reflecting any of the people mentioned so far. So all of those people, any of those things to do with Blake have to be produced. We've also got Robin Lively request for production number 87. So anything to do with Robin Lively relating to the film. So amongst others, you've got all the comms from Justin Gray Stone. So relating to and or reflecting your communications with your manager, basically, relating to the film and relating to the action. Anything to do with any conversations she had with intimacy coordinators, both of them as well. Anything, all documents and comms relating to and or reflecting your communications with any member of the crew of the film relating to the film, all documents and communications relating to costumes for the film, all documents and communications relating to casting for the film, and the same for relating to the score and or soundtrack for the film. Anything relating to or reflecting your communications with Rob Simonson, that's the Deadpool and Wolverine composer, relating to the film and asking him to come and work on It Ends With Us. And the same with Duncan Blickenstaff relating to the film, the other composer. All docs and comms relating to and or reflecting your communications with Taylor Swift related to the film. Any conversation, document, communication you have had with Sean Levy relating to the film, another interesting one, or with Sean Levy relating to the action. The same with Bradley Cooper relating to the film or relating to the action. So any conversation to do with this legal action, they have to have it. That's what they're requesting. And anything that they have had to do, any interference they've had with Justin's representative at WME, Josh Greenstein, or anything to do with him related to the action. The same for Liz Plank, anything to do with her relating to the film, any conversation, document, communication, and relating to the action, so any conversation they've had with her about the law case as well. Any conversation she's had or communication or document with Jacqueline London. So I imagine I presume this is one of Justin's original editors for It Ends With Us. So this is the lady that was kind of getting boxed out of it as much as Justin was, I guess. So anything Blake has had to do with her has to be produced. So any conversation, text message, whatever it is, email, all of it, they want that. Anything that happened between Blake Lively and Todd Black relating to It Ends With Us. So that Sony producer that they insisted on bringing on board, anything to do with either the film or the legal action related to Todd Black, that has to be produced too. So there's a couple more as well there that we've already covered in the first part of this audio that I'm making. Then all documents we're at number 128 by now, so all documents and comms relating to reflecting your communications with any of Reynolds' employees, agents and or representatives relating to the film or relating to the action. And the same with Leslie Sloan, anything related to either the film or the action. And then the same again with any of Vision, so Leslie Sloan's Vision PR, anything to do with all docs and comms relating to your communications with any of Vision's employees. And again, that's either relating to the film or relating to the action. So that's pretty much it. That's kind of what I wanted to cover. So basically, like I said, this is what was previously held under seal, but it's Justin's requests for discovery basically that are now on the docket for all to see. So this is basically who Justin wants the information from. So it's kind of epic, I think, when you hear it in this form. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you found it helpful. I hope by the time that I'm uploading this that there's been some news, because we're just waiting now at this point in time of recording to see why Justin hasn't amended his complaints on his remaining 4 complaints against Blake Lively. We're just waiting to see what's going on and waiting to see if there's any news from Blake Lively's deposition, basically. But this is all very, very interesting. And as I say, please do hit that like, subscribe and share if you have enjoyed this. And I will see you again soon.